area. Repeat, all fuel tankers should now retire to special area.
Well folks, Moonbase Central Productions here again, and I'm giving tonight's toy a bit of extra special treatment because it is an extra special toy. This is the Century 21 Nuclear Ferry. I gave it a little bit of an introduction there with music from Thunderbird's Argo. Nuclear Ferry didn't appear in its own film, but it should have done. It's certainly as spectacular as the Century 21 0X toy. So here it is. Absolutely amazed to be able to show it you, because it is incredibly rare. This is probably one of only half a dozen 0X's that we know about. I say we, that's the Project SWORD community. There could very well be more, but we only know of about 5 or 6. This is on loan to me by a very kind gentleman, and I'm very pleased to be able to bring you this video of this toy. So let's have a look at it. We'll look at the toy first. The toy is made up of essentially 3 parts. They all clip together, and as such it's quite a fiddly toy, but we're going to start with the bit that comes off the easiest, and it's what I would call the taxi, really. This was a toy which, or a part of the vehicle, which in the original design of this taxied down to the surface like that, and will have presumably landed like that on the lunar surface, because this was envisaged by the designers. I think it was Ling Voigt, who my good friend Bill discovered had originally designed it as a Earth to Moon shuttle ferry. The toy has got a small hole, and in that small hole went this piece which came with it, and this piece would slot into a very strong spring mechanism which is inside. Now I'm not going to do it, but you can hear there is an extremely large spring in there, and if this was shoved all the way in, all the way through back in, this black button on the top of the ferry would release it. Now a lot of us wonder just how many of these toys there are, but if a load had been actually in circulation, just this single action, this single act of releasing this taxi feature, this sort of bulbous feature with this strong spring mechanism, well, surely they wouldn't have survived. I mean, the actual antennae, which is the same as on the dropship there, is there, should go there. Now that's actually in the box, it just needs gluing on. So that's the moon taxi. It's got the classic nuclear ferry cold melt marks. These are melt marks which are created by the remote control unit. You can see even that unit is covered in these melt marks, like there, it will have been where it sat like that in the box, stored for years, probably in a factory. Again, we think that most of these toys were in storage rather than in circulation, and therefore the melt marks are particularly pronounced. This melting is a cold form of melting. Again, my good friend Ferryman explained the science behind this, where two plastics are reacting with each other in storage. The plastic of the cable from the remote control and the plastic of the toy. There's another fairly pronounced one there on the dropship where the cable's been in contact with it. These can be sanded out, and particularly skilled restorers can remove them completely down to there. So there's even a melt mark there on the actual clear plastic of the dropship. So the dropship is attached by way of these two metal stainless steel braces. It should just pull off. I'm going to attempt it. This isn't my toy, so I have to be particularly careful. They're like a couple of coat hangers which hold the dropship in place at the front. I'm struggling to get it off actually, and I'm being quite cautious. They're in quite a way. They must be in about 1.5 inches, these braces, and it's not coming off, so I'm leaving it. The interesting thing about the dropship is that it's a sort of a self-contained unit. It isn't remote control like the MEV on the 0X, which was independently remote controlled, but this is able to be detached, and I'm just looking at the mechanism. I'm sure that would also slot into this spring mechanism and be able to be launched. Now again, how the fragile antennae on this thing would survive a spring loaded launch, I've no idea. Fantastic features on this toy which do make it extra special are the fact that you have here the dropship docking collar. What appears to be a loose part isn't at all. It is a ladder, and if you were to be able to look inside, you'd see that it's a ladder leading up from the floor of the dropship. There is actually a passenger about to set foot on that ladder. There is a second passenger who's left his seat, just walking along the handrail in the middle. And the most fantastic thing, of the 8 passengers who are seated, these 2 passengers have left their seats and there are actually 2 seats empty. I think that's such a fantastic detail. I love that. The base of the dropship is just, again, it's friction drive. Friction drive's actually quite stiff on this one. The main bulk of the ship, this tube, which has got the 2 stainless steel coat hangers attached in, has also got a metal bit of detail in a chevron collar around the top. This is the motor area. It would have tyres. They're just missing on this example. They just need replacing. Again, you can see the melt marks from the storage. This is the engine area for the remote control. It's got some extremely nice red engine exhaust at the back. I particularly love them. I think they're spectacular. And it's got Nuclear Ferry wording here, and the sword, Project SWORD stickers on the sides. Now, unusually for a sword toy, it actually includes the word project on the sticker. And there are some other unusual features about this toy which we'll see particularly on the box art. So there's the Nuclear Ferry. It's probably about 18 inches long. It's a big toy. I think it's equally as spectacular as the 0X, but obviously nowhere near as well known. A, because it wasn't in a film like Thunderbird Argo, and B, because it's an incredibly rare toy. It probably came out at a bad time when Century 21 was actually folding in 1969. To finish off looking at the actual toy itself, here's the remote. It's got a single button. It's got a metal screw cap for what appears to be maybe 2 or 3 batteries that go in there. It's a very nice looking remote. I haven't seen another remote like it. It's certainly not the same as the one on the 0X or on the Cape Kennedy set. They've got different remotes, but I do like this. To tell us a bit more about what the toy actually does, I'm going to rely on the text on the box, because one thing I've not done, which I may do later, is test this battery remote to see whether the toy actually moves. But for that I'll have to find some wheels for it in order to do a test. So I'll just put the toy to one side and we'll have a look at the box, because there are a number of special features about the box. Box is huge again to house the toy. It must have been planned to be a fantastic sight in a toy shop, to have, you know, maybe 10 of these stacked up on a shelf. It would have looked absolutely brilliant. If we could get all 6 of the known examples together with boxes, that's about as close as we'd come as to what was probably envisaged for the shelves of toy shops. So, looking at the box, on the top it says Nuclear Ferry, a fantastic font. I love the font. Battery operated. It's got the box art, which we discovered quite a few years ago now on the Moonbase Central Blog. Was from an original painting by a very famous American space artist called Robert or Bob McCall, who sadly passed away a few years ago. But this is his classic painting, which appeared in both Life magazine in America and Look and Learn in Britain. And the original painting is, I think it's in the University of Arizona art department, hung up on the in the public gallery, which would be fantastic to see. Actually, I think it's called the Earth to Moon Shuttle. So there's the art. It's Rob McCall. It isn't signed. The original is, but this one isn't. I don't think any, well, I know none of the sword box art is signed at all, even where they've lifted it from famous artists like Bob McCall and Ed Baligorsky. You can see on the box art that here's the full vehicle, here's the vehicle minus what I call the taxi capsule, taxi unit, which is zooming off independently there to land on the moon, and the dropship was also able to land as well. That's the front. Finish off, there's this very interesting wording here: Project SWORD Phase 2. This is the only box with Phase 2 written on it, and Project SWORD fans have debated, certainly for the last half a dozen years, as to what Phase 2 on this toy could possibly have meant. It appears in an advert within TV21, but doesn't show the nuclear ferry. It shows the Apollo Saturn, but actually says something like "blast off with Project SWORD Phase 2." So we're not sure what Phase 2 means. I think the most exciting theory is probably it was a second phase of toys to be spearheaded by the nuclear ferry. So who knows what toys might have been on the workbench when Century 21 toys folded, if that's the case. Looking at the sides, you have the box art again. You have the star features, although it's not called that on here. Battery operated remote control, forward motion, realistic rocket exhaust and sound effects, ejectable nose capsule, that's what I call the taxi, transparent passenger compartment with astronaut pilots and space travellers. So it's differentiating between pilots and travellers. I'm not sure if that's possible to differentiate by the look of them actually in the toy. They all look the same, but there is a dashboard at the front, so maybe it's the front two passengers who are the pilots. The other thing that it says here is free inside an official SWORD badge and specification sheet. Collect the full range of SWORD space toys and complete your own series of badges. I'll talk about the badge in a minute. Just to finish off on the box, the shorter sides are lovely. Actually clarifies what Project SWORD means, as it does on all the boxes. Space World Organisation for Research and Development. It's got Phase 2 again, which must have been very exciting. The other side's the same, and it says made in Hong Kong for Century 21 toys. An absolutely beautiful box. It is easily my favourite Project SWORD box. This has got a little bit of damage. All in all, utterly brilliant. Utterly brilliant. What an amazing toy. Easily up there with the 0X, if not more magnificent. I think the jury's out. I'd be interested to see what you think on the magnificence scale. Now it talks about the badge. That's easy enough. Here it is. In this particular example, it's an astronaut badge. It doesn't say on the box which badge it is, unlike most of the toys. I think it's the Scouts and this one and the 0X that don't. The astronaut badge is the blue badge. Now I'm not convinced that this is the badge that came with this toy. It just doesn't seem high enough a rank for the nuclear ferry. Bearing in mind that the 0X gets a white Supremo badge, and the stablemates of the nuclear ferry, some of the other big toys, get commander badges and even captain badges. This toy seems too big, too grand too extravagant to just simply warrant an astronaut badge. But it's impossible to say. It doesn't say on the box which badge you get, so it would be very interesting to know from the other 6 owners, if I could ever possibly find out, which badges came with theirs. Just put that to one side. The other interesting thing, it mentions a specification sheet. Now, in my example, which is on loan, there's a manual. The official manual came with every toy except the Scouts. Obviously, inside the manual, it does picture the nuclear ferry. It's a particularly brilliant picture. I love this picture in red, and explains its place within the Sword fleet. Obviously, it illustrates the remote control. Got a very large number 1 on it, which the final toy hasn't, but this could be more a reflection of the original designs that they looked at to create that illustration. So it is inside the manual. The big question is this a specification sheet? Well, it's not a sheet, is it? It's a booklet, and as they call it, it's a manual. And my own theory is there must have been something else planned. There is nothing on the box to tell you how to operate all these amazing accessories and devices like the remote control, and in particular the extremely powerful spring-loaded mechanism for both the taxi capsule and the dropship. Now, you would have thought there would be some form of instruction sheet to tell you how to operate those things, but there isn't. The manual certainly describes them. It says this has a remote control, there is a hand steered front wheel and flashing lights. The ejected passenger section is spring loaded and has a full complement of crew and passengers. But that really isn't an instruction sheet, is it? So there are a number of mysteries about the nuclear ferry. What does phase 2 mean? Which badge did it really come with? And what is the specification sheet? All in all, it's a thing of beauty and the toy which all Project SWORD collectors dream of as they're drifting off at night. That's all for now, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you again next time on Moonbase Central videos. Over and out.